It's week 26 of This Week in Film. It's our big 6-month anniversary, fellas.
Oh my God, is that silver?
Yep,
Yep.
the silver week anniversary. The voice you just heard was that of Charlie Chester, and making his triumphant return from Europe, RaysRayndomRayquest.
That's right. Europe.
That wasn't Greek at all.
No.
I don't know any Greek. I was there for 2 weeks and I still don't know how to say anything.
Yeah.
What was the most stereotypical thing you did in Greece?
That's a good question.
Did you stand in front of an old column and get your picture taken?
Maybe.
Witty banter.
Baklava.
I think I blended in. See, you feel like you're blending in, but then everybody knows that you're American.
They all
like,
know, yeah.
without you even opening your mouth.
You're constantly wearing that American flag T-shirt draped over
No,
you.
but that's the thing.
everywhere
Like
you go.
Europeans,
You wore your Cole Hamels Phillies jersey. the
right?
whole trip.
We actually saw a guy with a Phillies hat on, and my girlfriend asked him if he was from Philadelphia, and he didn't even speak English.
Yeah, he was being ironic.
That's great. Well, welcome back. We missed you. We love you. Don't leave me alone with Charlie again.
Right? Yeah.
Somehow we went on longer than we did on when you were here.
I thought the two shows were great that I missed.
Oh, well, thanks so much.
Yeah.
The world agrees. All right. So, Ray, you're right back off the plane. You just finished watching a whole bunch of movies.
That's right. Yes.
What do you got for us?
So I watched a bunch of movies on the plane, 2 long flights. But the one movie that I'm going to talk about today is The Lobster.
That's
Yes, Charlie has seen it.
No.
It's directed by Yorgos Lanthimos.
You're a ghost.
Is that the proper pronunciation?
I have
of
no
that name?
idea,
Okay.
but that's what I'm going with.
All right.
Starring Colin Farrell, Rachel Weisz, Jessica Barden, John C. Reilly, Ben Whishaw. It's a pretty great cast. However, this movie is absolutely ridiculous in every sense of the word. The plot is just ridiculous in itself. It takes place in a not too distant future where people aren't allowed to be single, or else they get turned into an animal of their choice. So Colin Farrell plays a man who gets left by his wife.
How is that possible?
What do you mean?
Like, how, if they're not allowed to be single, how can she leave him?
Well, she left him for another man.
Yeah.
Oh.
She traded up.
Right, she traded up, basically.
Oh.
So he has 45 days to find a mate, or else he is turned into an animal of his choice. The animal that he chooses is a lobster, because he likes the sea, and because they have a very long life expectancy.
And they
Okay.
stay fertile.
And they stay fertile for their whole life expectancy, right? Isn't that?
yeah. So he
So
he
you've
can
seen this, Charlie?
he can get
Charlie has seen
down
it, yes.
for many, many years.
Yeah, so he has to go stay at this hotel where he is not allowed to masturbate.
That's rule number 1.
Yeah, that's a main rule. And yeah, like I said, he has 45 days to find a mate, or else he's turned into a lobster.
Yeah.
Okay.
He can gain extra days by hunting down the people who escape this hotel, which they call loners. Every day they go out and they hunt them with tranquilizer guns. And if you catch a loner, you get 1 extra day added to your stay at the hotel. If you do end up finding a mate, you go and move into a hotel room with them for, I forget how long, 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
And then if you last that long, you go onto a yacht, and you live on the yacht with that mate and a child that they give you. So you're like one big happy family.
Okay.
And then if you pass that test, you get to leave the hotel and go live in regular society with your new mate.
Oh, so it's so that they don't lie and just say I'm
Colin
with
Farrell
this girl.
tries this, but fails miserably.
Colin Farrell, scoundrel.
So yeah, so he's trying to find a mate. John C. Reilly is in there with him. Ben Winshaw's in there with him. The one thing about this movie that I really liked, like the first half hour, 40 minutes, is it takes itself completely seriously, like very deadpan. Like they're acting like this is like a very serious movie, which makes it funny.
Right.
Like it's a black comedy essentially. But then this isn't really a spoiler, but he ends up escaping from the hotel midway through the movie, and the movie just takes, I mean, it's already ridiculous as it is, takes a complete left turn, and just got so weird that it just lost me.
Oh.
But yeah, I think the beginning of it I liked. You know, you're seeing all the different quirks of all these people, the quirks of the hotel that they're staying at. He tries to fake like this woman who's like very mean. He's sitting in a hot tub with her, and she fakes that she's choking to death, and he acts like he doesn't care, and she kind of thinks that he's on the same wavelength as her. They move in together into the hotel room, and then she kills his dog, which is his brother. His brother got turned into a dog. That was his. So apparently, the dog is like the number one choice of most people to be turned into because they live a pretty good life.
Dog, yeah.
So his brother is living with him at the hotel. His dog. This woman kills his dog to see if he really is as badass as she is, and she catches him crying and reports him to the managers, and that's when he leaves and escapes and goes with the loners. And that's when the movie just takes a weird turn.
Okay.
So yeah, this movie's just very ridiculous. Charlie, you would agree with me that it's
where do I even start? Yeah, like it's the premise is cool. It's quirky. It's this huge social commentary of like how we should be ashamed. Like society thinks like it's shameful to be single.
Right.
You know
Nobody
what I mean?
should be alone.
And it is.
Yeah, I'm single. Thanks, guys. So it's, and then on top of that, you get this great cast.
Charlie is available to anyone out there.
Yeah, if
That
you've
was a
seen,
subtle way of putting that.
if you've seen my sexy picture that Nick posts in our videos,
Yeah, that's Charlie.
yeah.
Ladies. And open-minded.
So, I guess I am. So, I don't know. Did you think that the director's direction to the actors was a little strange? I felt like he was going for that Wes Anderson feel. With
yes, I totally agree with that.
where you go for wooden acting
Right.
on purpose to
I
be
absolutely
quirky about it.
hate Wes
But I
Anderson,
just
too.
did not
Wow.
think
I
it
love
worked
Wes
well
Anderson.
here.
Yeah, no, I just think it should have stayed like the beginning. Like I said, the first half hour of the movie I loved, and I feel like it should have stayed with him trying to find someone, and they kind of just throw that out the window midway through the movie and go with this other storyline that I just felt like didn't work. Like I was laughing in the beginning of it. Like I thought it was funny. I'm like, this movie's like this is so ridiculous that it's funny.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the direction they went. So I kind of liked it to begin with, and I liked the acting. I just thought the script was just weird. It was basically two separate movies in my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
I remember where the turn happens. I feel like
it's when he leaves the hotel and he goes and lives with the loners in the woods.
Yeah. Like for me, like there's still like this underlining bit of comedy with her trying to like fake choke, right?
Yeah.
But then like when John C. Reilly, who
he's
is comedic genius,
yeah.
when he's the reason you find out what rule number 1 is, that you don't masturbate, because of course he's the one masturbating, and I'm like, this could be so good, but then it turns when they punish him, I'm like so upset for him that I want to cry. Like it's so sad.
But now see, I thought that was funny.
What does that say about you, Ray?
I don't know. I thought that was really funny. What I also thought was hilarious too is when they're in the woods. And like the people that get turned into animals, they just banish the animals to the woods. So, like I said, everybody can pick whatever they want. So these people are in the woods, and there's like flamingos and like camels and like ostriches, like all kinds of eclectic types of animals that these people picked to become.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, I don't know about you guys, if I were to pick an animal to be, I would pick like an eagle or like something that could fly. Like I feel like that'd be pretty cool, right?
I kind of like the lobster idea because they do live for forever.
Yeah, but you're just like in the water, and
yeah, but I mean,
but then
maybe
people can
change. Maybe they'll change the rules later, and you can turn back.
Yeah, but people can catch you and eat you if you're a lobster.
You're highly edible.
Oh, are you still you as an animal, or do you just turn into that?
You're still you.
The whole point of you being an animal is that they say as a human being you are unlovable. Maybe you have a better chance as another species to find love.
Right.
That opening scene I thought was brilliant, where the woman's driving, gets out of her car, and there's 2 horses in a field, and she just shoots one in the head and then gets back in the car. Was it a horse or a cow now? I can't remember.
It was like a donkey.
So like there's so much said in that, you know that's her ex-husband.
Right.
That she just shot in the head.
But who directed it?
Oh, now you're gonna make me look this guy's name up again.
What, has he done anything else?
Yes, he's done some other weird. Yorgos Lanthimos. He did a weird movie called Dogtooth. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
I've heard
it's
of
a Greek film. It's strange as well.
You saw it on your journey.
I did not. I have seen it before though. But yeah, I mean, this film won the jury prize at the Cannes Film Festival.
That blew me away that it won. Did you think it deserved it?
No. I mean, I can see how some people like this kind of stuff, and just like ridiculous, weird. I mean, it's very creative. Like the story's creative.
The whole thing looks like I haven't seen it, but it looks like they're trying to do a Charlie Kaufman and a Wes Anderson movie in one.
It has that feel.
Definitely. And like I was saying to you earlier, that like they're trying to go for like a Her vibe, like a not too distant future kind of thing. But I guess they couldn't. Like Her was really good at sticking with it. Like Her, you're on board the whole movie, or like up until the very end. But it's believable.
Yeah, exactly. This movie is just completely ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd.
They kept talking about like, don't make us turn you into the most unpopular animal, but they don't say what it is. What did you think it was?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. I mean, I would think it would be something that could be eaten, definitely.
Oh, okay, yeah,
like a lobster, maybe.
Because like spoiler alert, the woman that kills his dog, he takes her into the chamber transformation,
which they never really explain. Well, they kind of explain how they do it, but not really.
But the next animal you see in the woods is like this big fat pig. So I wasn't sure if they were implying that was her.
Yeah, I didn't put 2 and 2 together there, but you might be right that's who she is. And then the ending is just weird in itself, but you'll have to watch it to see. I don't want to spoil that.
All right,
but
way to go, Ray! You're back in the saddle and you nailed it.
If that's how you want to put it, sure.
So do you recommend the movie?
Yeah,
I recommend it. It's one of those movies that you have to see just for how weird and absurd it is. And like, there's a lot of actors that so it's not like something that's completely out of reach.
Right.
So it's definitely accessible in that sense, but yeah, maybe you'll like it. I don't know. I just thought it was very strange, and I like strange. This was just too strange.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie. Well, what did you see? What did you see most of this week?
I saw. All right, so there's kind of a segue to last week a little bit, a connection, if you will. Your movie had River Phoenix in it.
Yep.
Last week, Stand By Me. So did my movie, which is strange because there's maybe only like 5 River Phoenix movies total?
Yeah, there's not that many.
Maybe. So I went back a bit on this one. I think you might have inspired me, like the kids coming of age sort of thing.
That's what I do.
Yeah. When I was a kid, in the 80s, like my favorite movies were like, E.T., Goonies, Stand By Me, like those, fun sort of spin. And there was one that I had seen, and I haven't seen it in so freaking long, and I couldn't remember if it was going to fall into that category of like, if you haven't seen it since you're a kid, or if you watch it as an adult and never watch it as a kid, does it hold up?
Right. Sort
of thing. So I was curious because I didn't remember much of it, but The Explorers is the name of the movie.
The Explorers.
It's got Ethan Hawke, River Phoenix, third kid, no name. I looked him up and like he never did anything else from there, which was a shame because he was actually a pretty good actor.
And these are like 8-year-old Ethan Hawke and
these
River
are young,
Phoenix.
like to the point where like you have to do a double take to figure out like who's who.
Was this before Stand By Me for River Phoenix?
Yes.
Yeah, because this was
85.
85 and Stand By Me is 88, I want to say.
Yeah, Stand By Me, he definitely hit that growth spurt after this because he's got a baby face in this. So I would assume it's after. So the basic idea of it is the outcasts in elementary school, these 3 kids. And one's like super nerdy. River Phoenix plays a super nerdy kid. in book smart nerdy, and then Ethan Hawke is like sci-fi nerdy, and he's obsessed with really bad sci-fi films like Forbidden Planet, I think is the one that he's always talking about. So they have a kinship, and then Ethan Hawke keeps talking about this reoccurring dream he keeps having over and over again, but he can't remember it completely. Finally, in the middle of the night, he remembers it, and he writes it down, and he draws from his dream a grid. The dream almost looks like Tron, like the way that like he's flying over like this grid. So he writes it down, draws it, and gives it to his buddy River Phoenix, who is like the science nerdy type guy, and he's like, this is a circuit board, an advanced circuit board. So he actually sits down and builds it. And when
nerdy kid builds the advanced circuit board.
Yeah. No, it's movie logic. It worked.
Sure, I'm on board.
So he plugs it into like this old school computer, like 1985, whatever the computer would have been around then. And when they turn it on, it creates a bubble, like a tangible bubble in the middle of the room, and it's got the program automatically has an XYZ, and it asks for the command. Where do you want it to go? Essentially, this bubble. So they type it in, and it like flies through the room and like puts holes in walls. It's like it's almost unstoppable, I guess is what I'm looking for. Like if you commanded it to tunnel to the center of the earth, no problem, no friction, boom, it would just go all the way down. So they're playing around with this thing.
It's like Flubber, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, if you can scientifically control Flubber with commands, like computer commands. So they're, fooling around with it, having a good time. Now you come to find that there's bullies at school. Ethan Hawke has a love interest. He pines after her, but like it never will come to fruition, sort of thing. She's out of his league. So now cut back to them, and they go to a junkyard, and they get an old carnival rides like a seat, and they fashion it into like a spacecraft, just something for them to sit in. And the idea is that they're going to command the bubble to be big enough to surround them, and now they can actually fly this thing around. So they have like this little adventure, and in the middle of the adventure, all of a sudden it gets taken over from some other signal from outside of space, and now it kind of alludes to the idea that Ethan Hawke has been getting these dreams from an alien race, has been sending him these ideas into his mind so that they can make first contact with them. So they get sucked up into space, they find this spaceship, and they come to find that this alien race is trying to communicate with them for the first time. So like
then we move on to minute 4.
Yeah. It's great, and I understand like why I loved it as a kid, because it's got all the makings of fun adventure, but what it's lacking is and I never would have figured this out when I was a kid, it's lacking heart, like presence, like it's not making any commentary at all. Because these kids go up there, they meet these aliens. The aliens, you come to find that they are actually kids who stole technology from their parent and were just having fun and just wanted to make some playmates down on Earth and have them come up and play. When the parents come in, the alien parent comes in, they pretty much punish the alien kids and say, "Send your friends back to Earth." And that's about it. You know what I mean? There's nothing gets accomplished in the story, really. Like there's no real big, these kids don't learn something amazing and are able to turn their lives around because of it or anything.
Right.
The one thing that they do is at the very end, as they're ending their adventure in space, the alien kids do them one solid and send the whole adventure as a dream to the girl that Ethan Hawke likes. So now she has been privy to everything they've done, so that when they go back, she's going to have a kinship towards Ethan Hawke, almost like an icebreaker.
So the whole movie's Inception.
It's all Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Inspired. This is inspired.
Yes, Inception would not exist without the movie Explorers. Right. But like, for me now as an adult, I guess a little bit more of a trained eye and stuff, it doesn't have the hero's journey basic idea, that ending where everything was for a reason. Like these characters, like it almost feels like a episodic TV show where it's just like one episode, throwaway episode. Let's move now. What's the next episode going to be about? You know what I mean? It didn't have that. Like I would have liked them to come back, have something happen with this technology where they're like, now they can, they're stronger and more confident, and then they take on the bullies, and now they're grown a little bit.
Right.
You never get any of that, and you don't even feel like these kids were on the adventure of a lifetime where they're going to come back and be the best of friends forever. Right. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like they had a couple fun days and then that was it. Does it hold up? That's what we do. Does it hold up? Visually, yes, because Industrial Light and Magic were behind it. And I showed Nick some of the images of the aliens and whatnot.
Yeah, it looked great. It looked really good. I'd like to know if it's been remastered or anything like that, because the effects were, like the creature effects were fantastic. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, for 1985, it was pretty impressive.
I'd say even for today. Like I thought it was CGI at first.
Yeah.
But not bad CGI.
No, it was definitely.
Yeah.
They definitely did a great job with it. Now I came in a little research. I found Joe Dante directed it.
Oh, from Gremlins?
Yeah. He did Gremlins the year before this movie. Then did this movie. And then went on to do movies like The Burbs, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love The Burbs.
Burbs is great.
And a few others. So there's that dark sensibility, mixed in with like fun family comedy.
Yeah.
That, he just became one of the Spielberg boys, I guess, because of probably like this movie probably got him in.
What happened to him?
Joe Dante went on.
Like they forced him to do Gremlins 2.
Yeah, he did Small Soldiers, which was kind of like a commercial flop.
I liked Small Soldiers.
It wasn't bad.
Small Soldiers was cool.
When I was a kid, that came out when I was young, and I loved it.
I thought it was entertaining, but he just did not have that magic that he had with Gremlins as far as like commercial success. Burbs, maybe with Burbs, but I can't imagine it being a huge hit.
I don't think it was a huge, because it was like one of Tom Hanks's first solo,
right?
Like where he was the lead.
But it's
still a cool movie, but
he's had a great career still. I mean, like he's done a lot of TV, an episode of this show, an episode of that show, 5 episodes of this show, and they're all like fairly big shows,
right?
But he hasn't show run anything that I know of. But yeah, no, it's a cool flick. I'm glad I saw it again, but I wouldn't recommend it if you don't have any nostalgic sensibility to it. Because you watched it as a kid, it might be a tough watch. So unfortunately.
All right. Well, this week I watched the movie Super, directed by James Gunn, starring Rainn Wilson, Ellen Page, Liv Tyler, and to my surprise, Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon is the bad guy in the movie.
He was in that.
Yeah. This movie was recommended to me by listener Matt. Hi, Matt. Thanks for recommending the movie.
Hello, Matt.
And so anyway, this is James Gunn's first real feature film. James Gunn wrote and directed Guardians of the Galaxy, and he wrote and directed this movie too. And the plot of this movie, basically, Rainn Wilson plays a weirdo whose wife leaves him for Kevin Bacon. And the Rainn Wilson's character, I can't remember the character. Oh, character's name is Frank. And Frank can't handle it. And his mind kind of goes crazy. And he has this vision where Nathan Fillion, who plays this like a Jesus superhero, I forget the name of his character. It's like the Jesus Avenger or something like that, comes to him and tells him that God wants him to become a superhero and to stop all of the evil corruption that's on the earth. And Rainn Wilson says, okay, I'll do that. And he creates this superhero costume, and he creates his own catchphrase, which is "Shut up, crime." and he basically puts together a costume, and then chooses his weapon, which is a pipe wrench, like a red plumber's pipe wrench. And he says, all right, I'm going to go fight crime. And then he just goes and sits behind a dumpster until crimes happen. And the movie is silly and grotesquely violent and great. It was great. The violence in the movie is so over the top, but realistic at the same time.
Yeah,
that it's this sharp counterpoint to the rest of the movie, which is like a silly comic book movie. Like, it's done in the style of the first Spider-Man movie where he's drawing his costume and all this stuff, but then all these horrible things are happening around him. And he meets up with Ellen Page, who works at this comic book store, and along the way she just becomes his sidekick. And that was the one thing I don't think I liked about the movie was Ellen Page's character. I thought Ellen Page did a fine job with what she was given, but I don't think the character was very good. But I can't get into too much detail without going into pretty heavy spoilers. But the movie is just really violent. It's, at one point, he's in line to go see a movie, and it's like the line is wrapped around the block, and someone cuts in line in front of him, and everyone's yelling at the guy to get no cutsies, you can't cut in line. And the guy who cuts in line tells everyone to F off, I'm not moving. So Frank goes into his car, which is right across the street, and changes into his costume, gets out of the car, walks up to the guy and screams, "You don't cut in line!" and hits him in the head with the pipe wrench and cracks his skull. Like, you see his face just break open, and he collapses to the ground, and the guy's wife starts screaming, and he looks at the wife, and he goes, "You cut with him," and cracks her across the face too. And then he just runs away, because that's what he does whenever he stops a crime, because he just hit someone in the head with a pipe wrench, is that he has to run away because people will come and beat him up. And but that's just a little taste of the movie. Little things like that happen throughout it. It's really good.
It's like the violence is visceral. It's got like that uncomfortable B horror film, don't cut away grotesqueness to it, right?
Yeah, the things that happen to him and the people he knows throughout the movie, like when terrible things happen, you're taken aback. You're just like, wow, oh man, oh man. And then the movie just keeps going from there, where this character is so messed up, he doesn't really understand what's going on around him, and it's really well done. I don't really have that much more to say about it, really, but it's a cool little comic book origin story about a lunatic who puts on a red suit.
Yeah.
Does he have a name?
Oh yeah, he calls himself the Crimson Bolt.
Nice.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool thing. And he just runs around. At his first night out, he goes and tries to beat up a drug dealer, but can't because he doesn't know how to fight. And then that's when he realizes he needs a weapon. So that the next night, he goes and brings the pipe wrench and hits the same dude over the head with the pipe wrench.
Some parts of it reminded me basic ideas of Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
But in Kick-Ass, the world not only accepts but praises the character for doing what he's doing. In this one, they take a different approach in a way and are basically saying, "No, you're a crazy person. Stop it."
There's another plot in the movie where there's a cop involved who figures out that Rainn Wilson is this guy, and he figures it out and goes to his house to try and I guess confront him. And Kevin Bacon's goons are there, and they think that the cop is Rainn Wilson, and that's the only part of the story that isn't answered. Like this whole thing happens, and then that whole sequence happens. I see, it's tough to talk about without spoiling anything, but they don't doesn't affect the rest of the movie. Like, he goes home later and there's no blood there or anything like that. So it was kind of like a throwaway scene. But overall, I would highly recommend checking it out, but be aware that it is really violent in a really visceral way.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But so that brings us to the end. So Ray, while you were gone, we had a segment called Charlie's Crazy Conundrum.
Yeah, I heard.
And,
and I would just like to address something real quickly. Into last week, a lot of people answered the worst sequel of all time.
Here we go.
There were a lot of answers about Hangover 2 being the worst sequel of all time.
Right.
Well, I'm here to defend Hangover Part 2.
Oh my
I
goodness.
think it
Never
is
seen
a
you so
fantastic
riled up.
movie.
Ray, calm down.
Jeez.
And the reason why people don't like the movie is because, it's the exact same movie as the original. But in my opinion, if The Hangover 2 came out by itself, everybody would have loved it.
Yeah.
It's just that it's the same story, but the jokes are different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. Like, I like the movie.
I really
But I
like
can
Hangover 2, and there was a lot of responses saying that it was the worst sequel ever, and I just think that's a ridiculous statement. So I just wanted
There
to
were
put that
some
out
people
there.
who kept saying it. Like, they kept,
Right, that was
they
like-
kept writing in to say it. No, I'm really going to go with The Hangover 2.
Right. So I agree to disagree. Or just disagree, basically.
I like the third Hangover movie.
Oh.
I like them all. I think they're all good.
I like that they tried to do something crazy different with the third one. Like they went it's the same story but totally different. You know?
I think they're all good. So, sorry, I just wanted to get that off my chest.
Our listeners don't know that Ray wrote The Hangover Part 2.
But last week's question was related to Charlie's movie Killer Mermaids, and every horror movie gets a sequel anymore. So we said, what would be the subtitle to Killer Mermaids 2? And we had a lot of responses.
Oh, did we?
Listener Matt says, Killfin, Killer Mermaid 2, The Killining. All one title.
Okay.
Lou says, Killer Mermaids, they're putting the fin in your finished.
Oh, God. The mermaid.
And then Judy on Twitter said Murder Maids is the best.
Mhm.
And we all
It was pretty
we
good.
all agree.
Yep.
We all agree with that. Murder Maids is great. And then she goes on to give us a bunch of different titles that she thought of. Killer Mermaids 2, Sister's Revenge, question mark. Killer Mermaid 2, Ahab's Revenge, with a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Killer Mermaids, Kill Some Mo, Oh Hell No, like Sharknado. I feel like the Sharknado part wasn't part of the title, but
Just to help you understand the title, basically.
yeah, I guess so. Because I guess the third Sharknado is called Oh Hell No.
Oh.
And Killer Mermaid to Kill, like Made to Kill, and then she makes sure that we get it.
No, I get that one.
Yeah, that one was
a good
clever.
one.
That
Yeah,
was
that was a good
Mermaid
one.
to Kill.
All right.
I thought that was pretty good.
Nice.
All right. So what will be this week's fan question? Who's gonna
I don't know.
take
Charlie's on a roll
No,
here, so
dude.
maybe let
No,
him
we gotta
have
give it back to you, man. I'm willing to give that baton.
All right, so this week, going along with the movie that I saw, The Lobster, I already kind of mentioned what my answer would be. But if you were living in this dystopian society and you had to pick an animal to turn into if you do not find a mate, what would it be? Knowing that you would still be yourself in your mind.
Do you get to start out if you get turned into a dog? Are you a puppy or are you like your age as a dog?
I think you're just a dog.
Oh,
And I'm gonna put this out there: you can't pick a dog
okay.
because that's the
Pick
most
dog.
obvious answer I think anybody would pick.
Okay,
This is not a vegetarian society. Also,
Right.
you're gonna get eaten.
Right. So you might
There's a good
possibly
chance.
get eaten if you pick
Yeah.
certain things.
So let's say like a pig is your favorite animal.
Right. But we all know that
maybe you don't want to be that.
we all know that pigs are filthy animals.
Yeah. Delicious, filthy animals.
Has to be a whole lot cleaner than that pig from Green Acres. Bacon tastes good.
Sewer rat might taste like pumpkin pie.
That's a great.
I'm not going to eat the damn thing.
All right, that's a great question.
So yeah, pick an animal. Not a dog, though. You can't pick a dog.
All right. On to our plug segment. Charlie, I bet you have a comic book you'd like to talk about.
Oh, how could you possibly? Yes. Boy Zero, written by Charles Chester. You can find me on Amazon.com. I have a biography.
Really good with this
We're now talking to the third person.
So it's available in digital, all digital platforms, including like iTunes, Comixology, Drive-Thru Comics, Barnes & Noble, so on and so forth. But it's only available right now in print via Amazon. But I just heard
Breaking news.
Diamond.
Sound effect to be added later.
We're going to get flagged now. The biggest comic book distributor in America's name is Diamond Distribution. So you don't get a comic book into a store unless Diamond Distribution has it in their monthly newsletter. So the monthly newsletter goes out, and comic book stores get this newsletter, and they pick what comic books they want to put in their stores, right? So that's the only way you really get into brick and mortar. So Caliber just told me that Diamond Distribution is getting Boy Zero Volume 1.
No way.
It'll be available in November.
Wow.
For purchase.
Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah, baby. Let's get that cash.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It'll be available through them, a black and white version of the book, which doesn't hurt the story in any way because it's a horror book and it's a noir.
Mm-hmm.
So volume 1 will be that way. But if people really want the color, at that point they can just go to Amazon and choose to go color.
Or both.
I would like to think that they would go both.
I would imagine Charlie would think you really... It's like the new Mad Max, like the re-release in Fury Road in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You got to own both.
I think that's a
really
perfect analogy. Yeah.
To really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Ray, do you have any plugs?
I don't have any plugs.
Okay.
Just happy to be back.
Charlie, if you could let the people know where they could find us. Right here.
I'm looking. Find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, and This Week in Film Podcast.com.
And I'd also like to say, if you're listening to us on the podcast radio network right now, thanks for listening. We'd like to say thank you to the Let's Talk Flicks guys who let in for our show tonight. If you missed it, you should go back and look them up. It's a really funny show, and they talk a lot about movies because they talk flicks. And but if you're looking for us because you love the show, go to all those places Charlie just said. You can also look for us on Google+. We're starting to use that more because, like I said last week, Facebook is brutal anymore. I trailed off. Oh, but anyway, the Podcast Radio Network, you can find them on the Crikey app or Podcast Radio Network on Facebook or Twitter. Just search for them, or just podcastradionetwork.net. Just wanted to give them their due diligence because they do so much for us. But if that is all we got today,
I think that's it.
If that is the end of the reel,
oh God,
we'll see you next week in film. I didn't think of anything new to say at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, so